What is up, Buckeye Nation? Back here with you again. Ohio State football with Scarlet and Great right here on YouTube. If you like what you see, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. It helps us grow. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers before the season starts. We'd love your help on that. We love all the support you've been giving us, guys. We appreciate all the love and support. I'm here with my good friend Dylan Freeman. As you can see, his Twitter handle right there at Dylan Freeman VP. If you want to hook up with him on Twitter, he's always gracious and kind to talk to you about any information he may or may not have. He's our recruiting guru coming up on the show. Grace, appreciate you, Dylan, for coming on here. I don't follow recruiting nearly as much as I used to. You're still kind of into it. I got to be honest with you, NIL is making me like I don't even want to follow it anymore. This is nuts. You saw Justice Haynes today come out of nowhere and go to Alabama. We have to know NIL behind that probably because it looked like it was either us or Georgia for a while there. Anyway, Dylan, we did get a boom today.
We did.
We did. We had a really good boom. Tight end Jelani. Is it Jelani or Jelani?
Jelani.
I'm breathing right into the mic. Sorry, guys. Jelani Thurman. I'm probably going to say his name like 14 times wrong. I'm just being honest with you. I'm not good with names. It was between us and Michigan State for him. You actually are familiar with Michigan State quite a bit. Their recruiting, their infrastructure, everything. And I remember having a Michigan State fan friend come to me and about this guy about 4 or 5 days ago and say, "What do you think Ohio State's chances are?" I actually at the time said, "Probably Michigan State. Why would a tight end go to Ohio State?" So sorry. Anyway, how big a get is this for Ohio State?
I think his upside is he has a very high upside, and the potential is off the charts. I think he's legit 6'5", almost 6'6", but he's probably about 225, 230. So he still has a long ways to go. And you can tell he's a great athlete. I mean, he's a basketball player, first and foremost. That's kind of where he made his bread and butter up until the last probably 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So he has that kind of wiry frame still. That the basketball player is not as bulked up yet, good athlete, and he's still very raw. Like if you watch his highlight tapes, he's not crisp on his route running yet. He's a willing blocker. That's kind of the big thing, though. I mean, for anyone even though he's not 250 pounds yet or anything like that, he's a willing blocker for someone that hasn't been doing it for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think we saw Ruckert, how long it took him to get on the field, even how good he of a receiver was, just because he never blocked. He played wide receiver, just like Jelani plays pretty much wide receiver, kind of like Caleb Pitts. I mean, do you really consider him a tight end? He's split out more than probably 60% of the time. So it's very similar to that. He has great upside. I still don't think he has a long ways to go as far as contributing, but I think this could be a very big pairing with Ty.
Absolutely, I agree with that. You're so right about the blocking. I mean, Kevin Wilson will not put you on that field if you can't block, at least not in meaningful snaps. I mean, maybe he'll put you in a blowout to let you try to block, but that seems to be key for Ohio State. What do you think? Let me ask you this first, and then we'll get into the how big this is because of the depth of the position we have. But the first thing I want to ask you is like, why, if you're a tight end, now we do put him in the NFL. To be fair, it's not. I mean, Jeremy Ruckert just went 3rd round in the Jets. He's probably figures to be a pretty good player at the Jets. He has that upside to be that good. Mm-hmm. Heuerman, before he got hurt, was in the NFL playing pretty well. Nick Van Ant's still hanging around the NFL. Marcus Ball even hung around for a little bit, mainly practice squads and things like that. But he still hung around a little bit. We do put tight ends in the NFL, like all of them.
Stoneburner played.
Yeah, exactly. Stoneburner played for Green Bay actually for a little while. I'm going to ask you though. As far as college goes, I mean, like you look at Iowa, they utilize their tight ends extremely well. There's other schools that seem to do a better job. Look, even the Gators with Kyle Pitts, look what they did with him. I mean, even though you're technically a tight end, I mean, that's exciting for a guy like Kyle who went top 10 in the draft, I think it was. And now he's doing well with the Atlanta Falcons. What is Kevin Wilson's pitch to get a tight end to come to Ohio State?
There's more to it than putting up stats. That's true. Really what it is. It comes down to it. I mean, like you mentioned, at the end of the day, you're not going to win the pitch on I'm going to use you the most,
That's
but
true.
In the day, and 3rd goal in the playoff game, in the NFL, these teams want Nick Van Nett or Jeff Heuerman in the game, like that's you're going to rely on that in the day. It's nice to have someone like Evan Ingram, right? Like that's going to be able to be a flashy receiver and kind of be able to spread out. Get in the slot, but you want him blocking Marcel Darius, you know what I mean?
No.
Coming in on a wham block, no. And So you're selling them more than you're becoming a well-rounded tight end that's going to be winning a game, whether there's going to the playoffs or national championship almost every year. Like we're in it, and you're just being around better players. Like you're going to be blocking tight end, defensive ends. I mean, you're seeing Jack Sawyer. He's going to be matched up with, and then he's going to be going with C.J. Hicks, Gabe Powers, Sonny Styles. So I mean, you're going against the best of the best every day. So you might not getting 35, 45 catches a year. You know what I mean, and 10 touchdowns. You're still being productive in other aspects, and that's going to, in the end, lead you in the consistent NFL career and having a longevity, which is more important than having 2 or 3 great seasons. And then when it all ends, you know what I mean, when you're not as near as athletic as you were, you're not gonna be able to get used.
I guess you can also say that, like, unless you are Kyle Pitts, Calvin Johnson-esque type, you need to rely on the idea that you can do those other dirty things. The team can count on you. And I apologize, I'm popping all over the microphone. I apologize.
Like how many of those guys are there?
Yeah,
5
exactly.
or 6 great athletes.
I know every high school kid who's destroying 5'4" linebackers wants to believe they're that guy, but I guess it's up to Kevin Wilson to say, you are talented, you are athletic, yes, you're gifted, we want you here, but you are not Kyle Pitts, you are not, Antonio Gates or whatever. You're not that kind of tight end. You need to be able to do all these other things to round out your game, so the NFL will see you as more valuable.
And then
is that what I'm?
Day, when it comes to stats, our spacing, creating separation also helps. So at the end of the day, most of the time we're not going to throw the tight end, just because we have Jackson Smith, Marvin Harrison, and then who do you want to take the ball out of their hand? You don't. But that doesn't mean the tight end, running seam routes is not extremely valuable. Holding that, especially if they can hold that safety an extra second longer, so that you can take that deep shot to Njigba. So it is important. It might not be the first option, but it still has its place in the offense, which is very valuable.
Do you think he's more or less athletic than Ruckert was?
He's more athletic.
More athletic than Ruckert. Well, that could serve him in the seam. I remember Ruckert in the seams didn't always get open. He couldn't outrun those linebackers very well, in my opinion. And granted, I mean, if the linebacker already knows what he's doing because he's seen it on film and what's Ruckert going to do. But if Jelani's more of an athlete and he's a basketball player, we'll get into that here soon too. You got to figure he probably knows how to use his body more in the seam to get open, maybe, or to even get in catch the ball in tight spaces.
Yeah, you watch him, especially going up and high pointing the ball in the end zone. Like, I think it's like his 4th or 5th highlight on the play. He goes up and high points the ball. Obviously, you're talking about, it's going to be going against guys that are 5'8", you know what I mean? Like safeties that can't handle him, but you can still see how he uses his body and boxes him out, which is encouraging. Ruckert is probably a better receiver, just pure receiver, as far as going like technical wise, footwork and everything like that. But that's not to say that in a year or two that Jelani focusing on football is not gonna be that way.
I know that Michigan State was promising him basketball as well. It sounds like Holtman and Ohio State have also said they've opened that door for him. Do you think he plays basketball for Chris Holtman?
I don't know.
Don't we do that all the time? Hey, yeah, sure, you can play.
You know what I mean? It's great in theory, but realistically, there's how many guys are actually doing that?
JTT said he was going to do it, and
exactly. And
I remember way back when Terrell Pryor said he was going to do it for Thad Matta.
DeJuan Jones too.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of guys, and it rarely happens. I mean, it's just so hard to spend all your time doing, split between 2 sports. And even at the end of one season, you go on to other, you're not focusing on that, but your body needs a break, especially for injury purposes. It's great to stay in shape. Like for basketball, you're going to be running and doing sprint, but at the end of the day, your body needs your bones. These kids are still growing. They need time for their rest, So I think I think he should stick to football. I think he has crazy high upside. How many 6'6", 230-pounders are not that uncommon in the NBA, So I think
his upside would obviously be more money in the NFL than there would be in the NBA, because honestly, past top 10 picks in the NBA, it's a crapshoot whether or not they're even going to make it. So he could be drafted in the 5th round in the NFL and probably still hang on to a team for 10 years,
Exactly. So, that's not to say he can't play basketball, like talent-wise.
Yeah.
But I don't see the risk reward for it.
I agree with that. Not to mention, you have to spend, I think Urban Meyer used to say upwards of 30 hours a week just on football to get good at it. So you're going to have to commit. So, but I mean, I do like the fact that they said, look, we'll look into it for you. We'll keep the door open for you if you want to do that. But it's not the Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders era anymore where you could just do that. I mean, football's a year-round thing now. It's not.
Baseball is a little different.
Baseball's different for sure. It's the same. Summer's off. We can go do whatever we want to do now. Play basketball. Nah, you can't. No, I'm sorry, but you can't. Not to mention, you wouldn't be able to play basketball until what, February?
Yeah, like you see the summer Kingdom League and stuff like that going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a valuable experience for these guys going into college, and summertime. You think he's going to be spending time doing that? No, he's going to be going on running routes on 7-on-7s, and you know what I mean.
And quite frankly, just getting his blocking technique down. So,
exactly. I mean, there's still a lot more to it, especially someone that really is. I'm not saying he can't play early because we don't have anything like him on roster currently, but to actually be a complete tight end and ready to go, from blocking to receiving and everything in between, it's going to take him a year or two, to actually get ready for it.
Oh yeah, I hear you. And how big is this get in as far as depth is concerned? Look at the tight end position at Ohio State. Cade Stover being a converted linebacker who went back to linebacker, now is back at tight end because the depth there is just miserably bad. I'm not trying to cut on anybody we have. I mean, G. Scott St. Jr. is a good player, but he's not an every down tight end for his size and things like that. He can create some matchup problems maybe in the receiving game, but do you expect him to do not a cut block, but what I'm thinking of a counter block on a defensive end or things like that? And then we got Joe Royer, who everybody's raving about in camp, but it's only camp until you do it in the games, because we've been hearing this stuff for Dylan. If you've been a fan as long as I have, you hear this. I mean, I remember Bam Childress days where, man, he's lighting it up. He's going to be a feature this year, and then whoop, there he goes. You never hear from him again. So I'm happy Royer's lighting it up. It's better than not hearing anything, but you just still got to see it. I haven't heard anything about Sam Hart at all. I don't, Cade, I haven't heard anything about. I don't know how well he's doing. The depth at tight end is just scary a little bit right now, especially for a team that depends on it so much in the run game, especially. So getting Ty Lockwood and getting this guy, both really top, I think they're both top 10 tight ends in the nation. How big is that for our depth going forward?
So coming into the season, they wanted 2 tight ends. That was the goal. Middle of the year, when they saw Lockwood and saw him keep improving, I mean, you saw his highlights coming out on Twitter. Like, he looked like a different player than he was. He was still really skinny, but now he's a pretty thick kid now. And Day was okay with keeping 1 tight end, just because they were already over rosters spots, cutting it down, so at the time when they had him. And so they were okay with that. And then the last few months, Wilson was really on board and was really pushing hard, along with a couple other assistants, trying to convince Day that he was worth it to go for 2. So yes, our depth isn't that great. And we played a lot of 1 tight end last year just because of necessity. Stover wasn't ready to play consistently. For as good of potential blocker as he can be, for how physical is, he wasn't ready to play last year. Like, give us the solid minutes that we really needed from him. And so we learned that we can go, we only have 1 tight end on the field at a time, but we saw how much our run game was limited last year.
Suffered a little bit. Yeah.
It did, and you can't.
We have talented running backs. This is not that shouldn't be an issue. I mean,
we have talented offensive linemen.
Yeah. Of course, people would argue with you that we started tackle and that was a main issue, but I don't think our run game should suffer that much. But having the talent we had on the line,
no, I mean, it's going to suffer a little bit, but there was a lot more going into the run game failures.
Yeah, and then people say, well, it's because CJ won't run. It's like, gosh, there's plenty of teams that don't run the quarterback who can run the football.
So I think they ended up seeing the value. I think he's a guy you can't pass up on.
So he's that good at athlete. I mean, 94 rating, 4-star kid. He's that good at athlete. You can't just pass up. I mean, Michigan State. It used to be when we're recruiting against Michigan State, you'd think, I mean, is it that good? But then Tucker's coming in hot, man. Tucker's doing his job, and Now it's if Tucker wants somebody, you can take a look at. Hey, Michigan State wants them. They're not settling for terrible kids. They're not settling for second-rate
They're
kids.
doing pretty well in NIL. Tucker is MSU has a lot of powerful fan base. You know what I mean? People in the alumni. It's Big Ten. You know what I mean? And they showed 10 years ago that there's opportunity for them to play in big games.
Absolutely.
And Tucker, it's funny because he's not necessarily that charismatic of a guy. He's just a good guy. You know what I mean? Like he's a good guy and a pretty darn good coach. And then you pair it with NIL and a couple other factors that boosts them up to relevance. And so that's a big deal it wasn't an easy win because 3 months ago, he was all but done deal to Michigan State. Even
good win for Kevin Wilson.
About probably 3 weeks ago, he was a done deal to Michigan State. So they just kept Wilson. He really wanted him. And I think that just kind of showed towards the end that we really didn't want him we really didn't need him, not just want him.
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's good, man.
That eventually was what sold the deal.
Hey, it's a good pickup. I'm happy about it. Dylan, tell me where they can find you, buddy.
Twitter at Dylan Freeman VP.
Guys, go check him out. Go talk with him. He's just a bucket full of information. That's why we have him on here, and we appreciate his time. Guys, as always, comment in the comment sections what you think about this pickup. It's a big, huge boom for Ohio State. We got another one coming up here where Dylan and I are going to be talking about some of the concerns with recruiting that maybe some of the fan base has, and we're going to see that if we can address some of those issues for you guys. Anyway, guys, Ohio State football with Scarlet and Great here on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Appreciate you guys trying to forget the 5,000 before the season starts. As always, guys, goodbye. God bless, and go Bucks.